Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then there is a link to nathanoakley.com below this video. There's also a link to PayPal, Patreon, and crypto if you'd like to support this channel. There's also a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. Now, I'm joined by Quantum Eraser. How are you doing? Very good to have you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you too. So both yourself and myself were instructed to watch a video on the Jose JG Gonzales channel that involved Anthony. He'd been up very, very early one morning and happened to catch Jose live, joined and instructed us both to watch it, which we dutifully did. And the reaction is what this show is about, basically. So this is why we're having a show now, to react to some of the things that were discussed in that show. So I don't know if you want to kick straight off with it, John, or if you want to give a little preamble. It's entirely up to you.
It's a full-time job keeping up with this stuff, man. Keeping up with these retards. Anthony, you need to take a break, man. Because I had other missions to do, and then you forced me to listen to this. And you know there's going to be a reaction. I think he did it on purpose. Yeah, and then he left us out here. You know, he went to bed and leaves us out here.
Yeah, he was quite insistent that he wanted to join. And then I messaged him, "You're going to join?" No, I'm tucked up in bed. Well, I will listen. Thanks very much.
Hashtag same team.
Yeah, well, at least he's a viewer. That's all we can ask for. Sleeping Warrior, subscribe today. Okay, if you're good, I'm going to start off with the first clip. Is that all right by you?
Yeah, well, let's preface it by saying who we're talking about here today. It's going to be Jose, Shawn Hufford, and some guy, I think his name's McToon, McToon, something like that. I don't know him, but he's going to join the party and become at least if not a star, then a associate director or a stand-in. But we're going to get to him. The reason why we're doing it is because not only do we want to punk these retards, because as you're going to see, this is going to be a joke, but they have similar arguments. You know, all these ballers have the same arguments. So we're just going to eviscerate those. So anytime you're ready, you could go ahead and start at 129.35 and stop at 130.33.
While you look for that, Riley, I think maybe a week ago or so, 4 or 5 days, I did a little special nighttime, and I Googled all the 10 references that you've been giving, the 10 you presented today, doing the definition, just for the hell of it, just for fun. Because if you give me a reference, I'm gonna research what that whole page university is gonna give me. So if you accept one definition from that reference, it means everything else must be true and you should hold it dear to your heart. And it gave me a lot of astronomy, a lot of shape of the earth, a lot of NASA stuff. So I think if you give me a reference, you should not cherry pick one little key point of the page and reject everything else. I think is the most honest approach. If you give me a reference, you got to take all of it from the reference point, if you understand what I mean.
Okay, so you're presented.
Yeah, so if you guys are sitting out there and you didn't just say, "What the hell?" then you're wrong. So be patient with me. I'm going to try to get through these series of sentence fragments. So Jose Retard, I think it may be a week ago or so, 4 or 5 days, I did a little special nighttime and I Google all the 10 references that you get. You've been given the 10 you presented today, doing the definition just for the hell of it, just for fun, because if you give me a reference, I gonna research what that reference, what the whole page university is gonna give me. So if you accept one definition from the reference, it means everything else must be true. And you should hold it dear to your heart. And it gave me a lot of astronomy, a lot of shape of the earth, a lot of NASA stuff. So I think if you give me a reference, you should not cherry pick one little key point off the page and reject everything else. I think is the most honest approach. This crayon muncher doesn't know, he's not the only one, it's all of them, doesn't know the difference between a citation and a reference. So let's go over this. From differencebetween.com, specifically a citation versus reference. A citation is how you quote the source of the ideas within the body of the research paper. References are included at the end of every chapter of a thesis or towards the end of the thesis. On the other hand, citation is included at the places wherever you quote from different authors. The purpose of a reference is only to let the reader of the thesis know the various books from which you have quoted from the list at the end or footnotes. So this could be books or periodicals, but that's the only purpose. To fumble, bumble, and stumble drilling through a reference and mind-numbingly search out some or any topic different than what the actual citation, i.e. quotation, denotes is so fuckwit language cannot fully encapsulate it. It demonstrates unequivocally that, number one, the retard has never attended university, constructed a research paper, or reviewed scientific literature ever, but number two, brings into serious question if they ever passed junior high school. Psst, you just unwittingly tattooed pretender clown retard on your forehead forever. Following the logic from Retardia, these citations are cherry-picked, and both papers should be dismissed and the authors charged, indicted with academic fraud. We got Yunhoo Kim, a delayed choice quantum eraser, 10 violations, and Zhao Sang Ma, quantum eraser with a causally disconnected choice, with 52 violations of cherry picking. Let's take a look at this. What you do is you go to the end of the research study. And by the way, you guys should stop in here and review this experiment. It'll put hair on your chest. So let's go down to the end, usually where the references are. You see all these over here? These are the references for the paper above. There are 52 references here, right? According to Knucklehead Jose, they're all cherry picked because he doesn't know what cherry pick is. None of them do. Clowns. It also indicts every single encyclopedia and dictionary ever written. It also justifies my wife rejecting the chicken marsala recipe I gave her because in the very same recipe book it has chicken pot pie, which I hate. If you haven't caught on to the little snooky game they got going on here, here's the concept. But in the very same reference you cited from about boll weevils, it says that astronomy is science. Well, did I cite it? What did I cite? Did I cite astronomy as science, or did I cite something with boll weevils? If I didn't cite anything about astronomy as science, then I'm not responsible for it. Duh. So I post a citation discussing the crucial importance of the bond force constants in the water dimer. However, if within the very same reference, even if it's the next sentence, it goes on about how the bond force constants in the water dimers are created by invisible three-toed gnomes behind the Crab Nebula, throwing pixie dust in a black hole, and how they are the cause for invisible three-toed gnome calcium oxalate stones. That fact Number 1, doesn't refute, render null, impugn my citation, or have any impact on it whatsoever. Number 2, doesn't denote that I believe that invisible three-toed gnomes exist or have kidney stones. Number 3, doesn't obligate me to explain or justify in any way, shape, or form invisible three-toed gnomes, crab nebulas, black holes, or calcium oxalate stones. And number 4, shows unequivocally that your clumsy, daft Muppet appeal is a booger-eating retard, incoherent, belly-laughing red herring fallacy from the Black Lagoon, at best. In other words, Mr. Magoo, I'm only responsible for the citation and the substance therein. Duh. Please report to 5th grade 2 weeks early next year. It's so shocking that I would even have to go over this. Right? Again, by the mere fact that I had to explain this, demonstrably reveals not only that this booger-eating psychopath Jose never reviewed scientific literature ever, but brings into serious question if and how he ever passed junior high school. Let's do a couple examples. P.S. The father of the second law of thermodynamics is Lord Kelvin. But Lord Kelvin also said X-rays will prove to be a hoax and radio has no future. So according to Jose's claim above, nobody can cite the second law of thermodynamics unless they think X-rays and radios are bunk. Clown. And this is absolutely priceless. I took this from above. Jose retard. If you accept one definition from the reference, it means everything else must be true. You should hold it dear to your heart. I mean, I don't know. Just hammer away at the C4 fire, clown. This is tantamount. Listen to this. A prosecutor obtains the handwritten diary from a serial killer detailing how he murdered his last 10 victims. On page 3, 6, and 9, the killer states, I am innocent. According to Jose retard, the judge is perfectly justified in stopping the prosecutor from continuing his examination on the basis of cherry picking. Clearly, the defendant is innocent because the prosecutor should believe everything that has come from the same source in the same document and hold it close to his heart. In conclusion, perhaps you should get on your knees and pray ceaselessly to the rock, pond, whatever, and give thanks for the autonomic nervous system, clown, because if you had to think to breathe, you'd be in big trouble. Unbelievable that I would even have to talk about it. I appreciate it, though. Thanks a lot. Please continue making videos with this clown nonsense.
He's got the butt of it, but Jose's one of a string of people that level the claim of cherry picking specifically at your door. It happens almost daily.
No, it's just not at my door. They do it. It's like cherry picking. As soon as they're put up against the woodshed, cherry picking. They think that that's like an argument, right? Now you have to support it. Most don't even know what it is. So it's. I just shake my head at these people, man. They think that they're clever. I think that they think they're clever, but they're abject morons. Anyone that watches or listens to these that has graduated high school recently or has attended university in any capacity must be shaking their head, laughing their full heads off at these clowns. They gotta be. That's how stupid this is.
Right, so the next time.
Yeah, that's it for Jose. We don't need, we actually didn't need to do anything with him. Just let him speak. But I promised him that I'd square him up. So there you go, Jose. Take that, you crayon munching clown. So the next one is Shawn Hufford, right? This is classic. Go ahead and play at 127.56 and stop at 128.15.
Hey, have you ever tried doing this? Yeah, I have, and I accept and I agree with you that there is citations to the contrary. But look at the quality of the citations that they're coming from in that context.
sciencefair.math.it.edu, science is, or time is always the independent variable.
So if time's always the independent variable, and you can only have one independent variable in a scientific experiment.
Sorry, I went over a little bit.
That's okay.
I'll just get you back up
So-
to me. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, you're up.
So Shawn Hufford actually citing something, that's a first, not only for Shawn, but for any of those crayon munchers, cites this. Time is always the independent variable. Priceless, man, priceless. You no depth, mindless parroting retard. Number one, did you think you were done? The argument has just begun, clown show. You now have to support, i.e., cowbell, that which you've cited with demonstration. Best wishes. It's coming up in the face of this. Get ready. Viable independent variables must satisfy 3 criterion. Number 1, it's your presumed cause. Number 2, the researcher must be able to vary and manipulate it. And number 3, the independent variable must demonstrably exist before you use it in an experiment. All 3 criterion must be satisfied, not just one. So let's take a few with time. Height, depth, width, length, distances, and time are not viable independent variables. I don't care who says it. Number 1, the submarine was crushed at a depth of 10,000 feet. Did depth cause the sub to implode, or was it pressure? Number 2, the gentleman was so obese he measured 1 meter wide. Did width cause obesity, or was it laziness combined with excessive caloric intake? Number 3, over the course of the night, the sun suddenly appeared above the horizon. Did time cause the sun to appear above the horizon? Does time cause the difference of scores between the first and third quarters? Did time cause the dough to rise? Does time cause the new roof to appear? Does time cause gravity? Or can we just think of it as time?
Never gets old.
Did time cause the universe to poof itself into existence from pre-existence? See how silly these are? You silly wabbit. Tricks are for retards. And by the way, crayon muncher, from the University of Texas, there can only be one independent variable and one dependent variable in an experiment. Everything else can impact the experiment must be kept constant or controlled. These are synonymous. We'll get to that in a little while. These are known as controls. So, crayon muncher, if time is always the independent variable, then every single effect in the history of the world is caused by time. No need to employ the scientific method experiment ever. Why? Because we already know the cause. Well, what caused your period? Oh, time. Oh, what caused the grass to grow? Oh, time. Clown show. All you could, and this is the best part. I want to see somebody do this. Can you tell us how you vary and manipulate time, por favor? What do you do? Stop your watch? Time is merely the conceptual medium in which all events in what we call the universe take place. That's all it is. You can't physically vary and manipulate concepts, you retard. Time is always a constant, i.e., control variable. Duh. That's all for that one, man.
Yeah, that one's not new either, really, is it? I've heard time being used. I've heard all the other lists as well. Just for the sake of the audience, because, you know, it's been a while since we've done this show, and I know the audience. Can you just ask me a couple of those questions that you phrased with, is time the cause of the scores between the first and... Can you just ask me a couple of those?
Yeah, I got one for you. Does time cause the new roof to appear?
No. People building it.
Does time cause gravity?
No.
If it doesn't cause gravity, can we just think that it causes gravity?
Yeah, we can think of it as being galloping unicorns if we want to. We can think of a lot of things.
It's the same thing. It's, with width or depth, right? It's the same scenario.
Or location.
Or location, exactly. Or any distance. It doesn't cause anything, right? This cause and effect thing is going to become very important here over the next few minutes.
Okie doke. Right, this next one, the short one.
It's a quick turnaround. Play at 145 and stop at 145.05.
Fortunately, there'll be a couple of seconds before.
Literally, astrology says, okay, Mars is over by that star, so this is going to happen in your life.
Yeah, I get it. So explain.
Astronomy is an observational science. It's not trying to apply a cause and effect. It's
Pretty sure that was where you wanted me to stop.
How'd you guess?
Okay, you're up again.
Yeah, so Shawn, I love this, by the way. Astronomy is an observational science. It's not trying to apply a cause and effect. Number one, this is just merely a clumsy equivocation fallacy with the term observational. It's really stupid. We're going to deal with that later. Number two, Shawnee, no causey and effecty, no sciencey. Okay? Scientific hypothesis. California Institute of Technology. Oh, from nature.com, by the way. California Institute of Technology physicist Shawn Carroll arguing in the edge that hypotheses aren't simply useful tools in some potentially outmoded vision of science. They're the whole point. So, what's a scientific hypothesis? We got to get to the point, the whole point. Let's figure out what it is. Let's see if it has any contradictions with your not cause and effect up here. So, Lowell C., becoming a successful scientist, Cambridge University. A scientific hypothesis is based on what? Cause and effect reasoning. A scientific hypothesis does not merely state X and Y may be related, but explains why they are related. From Drexel University, the scientific method is hypothesis-driven. One makes an educated guess to explain a cause and effect relationship. From Anne-Marie Helmestein, from ThoughtCo, PhD Biomedical Sciences, a hypothesis is an educated guess based on observation. It's a prediction of cause and effect. You see the problem? So since hypotheses are the whole point in science, and hypotheses are solely based on cause and effect relationships, then anything that is not cause and effect is not friggin' science, Shawn! Duh! Please report to 5th grade 2 weeks early next year. We could stop there.
This is what it's all about. You'd think after, 6 to 8, maybe even 12 months of shows talking about science and what it is, and specifically what it isn't, that they'd get that it's specifically about cause and effect. We still have people coming on that declare, we don't need a cause, it happened only yesterday.
I can't. Do you want me to comment on that? I mean, I'm speechless. I mean, these people are pretender clowns. They just come walking in here after munching on their crayons. They haven't any education. Most couldn't tell you the difference between a Bunsen burner and a beach ball. And listen, like I said, I hate the stereotype, but I've been out here for over 3.5 years. I have yet to meet a single Baltard, and a lot of flat earthers, by the way, that could pass 5th grade general science. Set.
Fair enough. It's like you say, it's hard to know what to say to this, isn't it? Because you think they'd learn from the George Musa incident. So he's discussing the validity and saying that they don't know the cause of gravity. And obviously we rejoice and play it over and over again and say what you've just said here. No causey, no sciencey. Great, thanks, George. You'd think they'd learn their lesson, but no, of course not.
No, they don't, because they have no idea what they're doing or what they're saying. They don't know the ramification of what they're saying. It's clear. This is like, I'll tell you what this is like. This is like shooting hippos in a fishbowl. That's what it's like. For me, it is. So it's a lot of fun. It takes some time putting it together, but this is preposterous, ludicrous absurdity. I hope everyone's seeing that. It's going to get better.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. So play from 145.43 and stop at 146.11.
Oh, we'll have a few more seconds, unfortunately.
And you're in the vast minority.
That's because on your side, none
That's
of you
because
are
you're smarter than every other scientist that's ever been.
Because you're trying to apply the rules of experimental science with observational science. They are not the same thing.
I know. One of them.
So why are you comparing them as the same thing?
I'm not. I'm contrasting them.
You're saying astronomy is pseudoscience because it doesn't follow the experimental scientific method.
Correct.
It's not an experimental science. It's observational.
It's not real science.
It's not trying to find causes and effects. It's literally just making observations and measurements. That's all.
Okay.
So, Shawn, because you're trying to apply the rules of experimental science with observational science, they're not the same thing. So, you see what he's doing here? He's playing a little equivocation game, right? With observational science. So, like I said, it's a clumsy equivocation fallacy by using an adjective in front of the term science, right? Which is code for hypothesis-less and experiment-less science. That's the juxtaposition that he's putting forward here, right? Number two, experimental science is painfully redundant. It's a tautology, like dark nights, chromatic rainbows, vertical drop, and true facts. Whenever science is uttered, Crayon Muncher, experiment is immediately invoked, and vice versa. There's just science, natural. Now, we're not talking about computer science here, right? We're talking about natural science, physics, which must follow the scientific method, or it's not science. Shawn, this is priceless. Astronomy is what they're talking about here. It's not an experimental science. Again, a tautology, right? Retard, no experimenty, no sciencey. From the University of Rochester Physics Labs. Listen to this closely. The scientific method distinguishes science from other forms of explanation because of its requirement of systematic experimentation. Its requirement. Go look up that word and what it means. For the scientific method is what? Systematic experimentation. It distinguishes science from everything else. So, without experimentation, science is just like everything else. There's no distinction to it. You can't discern it from anything else, from badminton, from chicken noodle soup. So, Mr. Magoo, fucktard Shawn, how in the world can you have science without experiment? Please tell us. Oh, I'll tell you what, you better turn away because this is going to be bad. You might as well just shut this off. I'm going to get medieval on your dumbass. From Luar's Computational Chemistry, Introduction to the Theory and Application of Molecular and Quantum Mechanics. The final arbiter of truth in science is experiment. From the chair of physics at Yale, Professor Shankar. The only way things change in physics is experiments. Everything is based on experiment. That's the only way we change our mind. From Professor Shankar again, the best way not to worry about your old theories is to not do any experiments. Then you can go home. That's all you need to do, just go home. No sense in going, it's just chicken soup. From, and this is the killer. I love this for you. From Richard Feynman. If it doesn't agree with experiment, crayon muncher in brackets, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. So, if you don't have this, you don't have this. From Max Planck. Experiment is the only means of knowledge at our disposal. Everything else is poetry, imagination, chicken soup. From the University of Rochester Physics Labs again. The scientific method requires that a hypothesis be ruled out or modified if its predictions are clearly and repeatedly incompatible with what? Experimental tests. Further, no matter how elegant a theory is, its predictions must agree with what? Experimental results. If we are to believe that it is a valid description of nature, in physics, as in every experimental science, experiment is supreme. And experimental verification is what? Of hypothetical predictions is what? Absolutely necessary. You hear that sound, Mr. Magoo fucktard Shawn? That's your second grade science acumen circling the drain at light friggin' speed. Unbelievable. That we could stop it right there.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's not a handful and a substantial number of people that don't appreciate that this terminology is this powerful terminology, science, is useful for people who are pretending. And therefore, because those people who are pretending write down that they are science and that they don't need experiments, people assume that they're correct, even though it's plainly obvious from the people who you've just detailed. And I've got to admit, Feynman's my favourite as well. Jeranism's used him quite a few times in the actual clip. Can you repeat that from Feynman, if you would?
Sure. He's just echoing what everyone else says. Everyone knows this who's been in the discipline for like 3 seconds. If it doesn't agree with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. Key! If you don't have the key, you're not getting in. In other words, I'm sure these clowns will probably attempt to define key in a different way or something, or two, right? Idiots.
Well, I'm pretty sure they'll just say that using a Feynman quote specifically about experimentation is cherry picking. Or,
oh my God.
Or add the word observational to science and say, well, you weren't talking about observational science now, were you?
The first, I know. The first step of the scientific method, clown shows, is what? Observe a phenomenon. That's the first step of the scientific method. Not the middle step, not the last step. It is part of the scientific method. Observe a phenomenon. It's the first step. So you got to have it, because you can't get the hypothesis without observing a phenomenon first. It gives you your dependent variable. So I don't know what you mean by observational science. What does that mean? If you're not blind, then you're an observational scientist? Is that what you clowns are going for here?
I'm going to answer, even though it's rhetorical, I'm going to answer. So there's a specific discipline, again, utilised by pretender clowns who don't have what we are detailing. They don't have experimentation based on a hypothesis. And that specific discipline is astronomy. So when they talk about, what was it, visual science? Observational science. What they're talking about is the declaration of science by astrophysicists. They cannot vary and manipulate what they observe, the phenomena of the stars. So they declare that they're science when they don't have experiments. But yet they're telling you what your world is. It's the most critical part of this debate.
Yeah, it's paleontology, anthropology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology, theoretical physics, astronomy, astrophysics, and cosmology. They're all pretender clown religious fruitcakes, right? They just observe and declare. Observe and declare. And since they got science back there in the hopper, well, we're science, then what they declare is science. Are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me, people. You can't see through this? Take the cognitive dissonance mud that's baked over your eyes, right? In your ears. I mean, an incoherent second grader can expose these people. The fluoride must be strong with you, young Skywalkers.
But it is a deception, so ultimately speaking, the people who claim to be science, there's going to be citations abundant from these people. Often, we're using them as hostile sources, but they're going to be in abundant. It doesn't mean that they're not deceiving you, and that's why people get labelled wiki-parroting pretender clowns by Quantum Eraser. Because that's what we're dealing with, people who have no discernment about the actual information that they're reading, and don't recognise an overt lie by a pretender clown. I'm science. So immediately you go, oh, well, what he's saying must be true then.
Yeah. See, another thing that's problematic, that's just been a recent phenomena is, and we touched on it above with Clown Show Shawn, they think that just providing citation when they do, because it's rare, that's good enough. That's it. That's the end of the argument. No, pretender clowns. No, the argument has just begun. You now have to support. If the person that made the citation, if that person didn't actually support what he just said, if you cite it, you're responsible for it. You now have to go out and search out support for what he just said, because I don't care. I don't care who it comes from. It's a baseless assertion fallacy unless you can support it. I hope that's clear to people.
Or repeat it 5 times while you're refuting the baseless assertion. If you can paraphrase your own baseless assertion 4 more times over the top of the rebuttal, then that's pretty much a win.
Right. You have a lot of people doing that now. Even flat earthers are starting to do that, right?
I don't get it. I understand the tactic, but simply reasserting your position 5 to 500 times in the face of a rebuttal isn't going to be a win. It doesn't work like that. And I have to agree with you. I'm lazy, so I often don't go and get citations. I prefer to take the actual, the path that you're describing in terms of them being support. In other words, you make the argument, you make the case, and you may require a citation to support your case. Once it's cited, as John puts it, you're responsible for it. It's part of your argument. It's not that the entire reference suddenly backs your argument, Jose. You're just citing one specific thing that backs your specific argument. Now, like I say, I'm lazy. I'd just rather make the argument and not cite anything. But that's just me. But what the point is that just a citation isn't an argument. It doesn't stand in isolation to prove your point. You have to make your case.
Exactly. You got it. Yep.
Okay, should we move on? There's a couple more clips to go, I believe.
Yeah, it's just one, I think. Hold on a second. Let me check. I think it's just one. I think we could get through one. It doesn't matter. Let's get to it. Let me find it.
Got 20.
It is. Go ahead.
209.56.
Yeah, this is Mr. McToon. So play at 209.56. Stop at 210.07.
will reject the null depending on what you've done. So you will prove that either the hypothesis was proven or the null was proven, but you will prove one of them, and you will dismiss
I'm sorry,
the other.
that's a little bit of word games. I will not.
All right.
I will not accept that science proves things because scientists will stand up all day long and say, "No, I'm sorry, we don't prove things."
All right.
Okay, wrapping it up. Good.
So scientists will stand up all day long. You sure they're scientists, Crayon Muncher? You mean pseudoscientists will stand up all day long? This is a train wreck. McToon, Mr. Magoo, I'm sorry, that's a little bit of word games. I will not accept science proves things because scientists will stand up all day long and say, no, I'm sorry, we don't prove things. Oh, really, Pretender Clown Muppet? From Krista McClellan, The Nature of Science and the Scientific Method. Experiment. Once the hypothesis has been established, it is time to test it. The process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines. Boy, we heard that above, didn't we? This process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines, and it leads to discoveries every day. An experiment is designed to prove or disprove the hypothesis. If your prediction is correct, you will not be able to reject the hypothesis. Duh! From Dr. Craig Venter, the grand poobah of geneticists, the geneticist of geneticists. You know, there's some things we can do in science in terms of proving certain things in life we discover. So I don't know what scientist you're talking about, clown show, but you just got pummeled. Let's pile on. Proof equals evidence. From Merriam-Webster, evidence, an outward sign, indication. B, something that furnishes proof. From Oxford dictionaries, proof, evidence, or argument establishing a fact or truth of a statement. From Collins Dictionary, prove, number one, the first one, test by experiment. Do you get it now? Proof synonyms, confirmation, evidence, validation. From the University of Rochester Physics Labs again, a scientific theory represents a hypothesis or a group of related hypotheses which has been confirmed through repeated experimental tests. See, confirmed? That means prove. From your alma mater wiki, an experiment is a procedure carried out to support, refute, or validate a hypothesis. Validation. Proof. See it? Ergo, experiments prove or disprove hypotheses. This is basic fundamental stuff. Okay, now here's a good example. Here comes the cowbell. Scientists using the scientific method have proven, number one, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. That is 1 atmosphere of pressure, 101.325 kilopascals or 14.7 psi. Number two, combustion is the result of oxidation reactions. Number three, information is only caused by intelligent agency. Number four, lack of insulin with type 1 diabetes patients results in ketoacidosis. That's DKA. Number five, the lack of vitamin C intake in humans results in scurvy. Number six, knowledge or the existence of the which path information collapses the wave function. Number seven, the rapid motion and collision of molecules with the walls of the container causes gas pressure. Number eight, magnetism is caused by the motion of electric charge. Number nine, the Coriolis force is caused by two differing frames of reference, one rotating coordinate system, non-inertial, and one rotating coordinate system, inertial. Number 10, gluconeogenesis results in the production of glucose from specific non-carbohydrate precursors. I could go on for months. These are Absolutely true. Proven. Inviolable. Never to be falsified. Listening to these clinical level Dunning-Kruger retards is like listening to Elmer Fudd giving the keynote address at a neurosurgery convention. What these people are, I'm telling you, this is you, right? We all know it. Most flat earthers know it. When you open up your mouths, this is you. This is what we see. I know this is what I see. Every single time. Not only you three, all your knucklehead cohorts. You're all the same. Basically, you have all the same train wreck arguments from 2015, right? Just whistling past the grave road. Oh, the rotation of the earth, the rotation, it's not spinning that fast. You know, typical stuff like that. This is what I see. Seriously. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Excellent presentation. Nice dissection, as always.
You're welcome.
Can I get one of your catchphrases? It's a new one. I've not heard it before. Did you say carry on pounding the C4 to put out the fire?
No, yeah, it's really funny. It's a really good visual. Technically, it might not be correct, but anyone who tries it, it's a train wreck. So C4 is plastic explosive, and what you need to set it off is pressure and temperature, both. It won't go off with just one. I mean, you could burn this stuff; it ain't going to go off. On the other hand, you could pound on it. You could squeeze it to death. It's not going to go off. But if you combine both, look out, brother. So pounding the C4 fire, I just get a visual of just a crayon muncher, finding some C4 laying around and taking a hammer and say, ooh, start pounding away at it. So yeah, it's the concept, man. It just kills me.
Yeah. There was a serious point, actually. I should have said this before, which is to say that, in amongst the people who are claiming to be science, that is the main point here, which is that there's going to be, I said it already, there's going to be citations that you can go and find, but they've been produced by the pseudoscientists, and that's really where the battle lines are being drawn. I mean, I watched an Owen Benjamin clip from a way back, and he's talking about NASA even before he came to this subject, and he's talking about science and saying how it's big bad science. And you're like, no, not at all. Our war is not with science, it's with pseudoscientists claiming to be science. Science is on our side. It's just a method. It's not a buddy. I'm not putting my arm around science going, I'm glad you're here. No, it's just a method. It's not to be reified, and that's what these people have done. They've reified it into a thing, the body of science, the scientific consensus. That's what they've turned a method into, a method with empiricism. That's why they've hijacked it. So they've said, great, as soon as somebody understands in 5th grade that when we apply this method, we prove something, that's really useful. If I want to assert something I've got no proof for, I just say that magic word science, I point at a light in the sky and declare what the convection currents are doing on it. Now that's science, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's not. That's pseudoscience. Those are the people that we have an issue with, not science, not the method of empiricism that gives you a cause and effect relationship. That's very useful. It's driven technological advancements, but they're not science either, they're technology. But yet we get told about these little devices men have put together and how they're science. No. Anybody claiming that they are pseudoscientists. They don't establish a cause with this man-made device. It may be utilised in an experiment, but that doesn't make it the phenomena. These are all the practices of pseudoscientists, not scientists. So that's what we're up against when these pretender clowns, the charlatans who declare science, have ensnared us in nonsense, telling us what our world is based on pseudoscience practices, declaration, observational science. Wow, you might as well just say pseudoscience, Shawn, because that's what you're talking about, isn't it now? Something that they haven't established cause. They've just made an observation and then declared that that's science, therefore proven. And when we pull it apart and say, no, science actually does prove things through systematic experimentation, the main key event in science, once we show them that, you know what they say? Oh, no, science doesn't actually prove anything. It just gives you a jolly good indication of something that's occurred. And it might be changed at a later date. Again, the same pseudoscientists. They're the people that are going to tell you that science is going to change. No, it won't. The whole point of doing it is to give you an empirical result. But no, if they need to change their just so story later down the line, they're absolutely going to grease the skids of their just so story by prefacing science and saying it doesn't prove things. If it doesn't prove things, what the hell is the point of doing it? Well, there is a point. It establishes cause.
I'm speechless. I couldn't have said that any better myself. Exactly. Precisely.
So leave the scientists alone. The real ones, just let them get on with establishing cause and effect, and go after Neil deGrasse Tyson and say, what's your independent variable when you declare this, that, and the other about a light in the sky?
He ain't going to know what it is. He will not know what an independent variable is. I'll bet the farm on it.
Look at the waistcoat. Look at the waistcoat. Look into my eyes. Yeah, these people are pretender clowns. They're the ones we've got a war on. And when people say, oh, if we attack science, again, reifying this method, then the whole of society would crumble. No. The real scientists would still carry on. They'd still be establishing cause and effect based on a hypothesis. They'd still be supposing what they think causes an effect that they're investigating and trying to establish it through systematic experimentation. They're not going to lose their jobs. Scientific discovery will not halt, but there'll be a lot of pretender clowns out on the street in nice shiny waistcoats.
I don't know, Guy, if because that's a big part of academia and the professional world. All those listen to those disciplines now. You got paleontology, anthropology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology, theoretical physics, astronomy, cosmology, and astrophysics. That is a healthy chunk, right? That if it's exposed, it won't be. People are too indoctrinated. But if it were to be exposed, all of academia, it would implode in on itself. Even though there's valid scientists, right? You know, in quantum mechanics, in genetics, in biochemistry, in chemistry, they'd be grandfathered and sucked in. Universities would just implode, man. And the public trust of those universities and institutions, oh brother, it would be bad. It would be pretty bad. I'm just speculating here, but I see no way out.
I can cope with Ross Geller from Friends being out on his ear.
Yeah, right. I don't know, in the United States, man. Oh boy, look out! Somebody's getting their ass kicked. That's all I know.
Okay, I'm happy to wrap it up here. If we're coming up on the hour mark, which is about how long I was hoping it would be. Have you got anything to add? If not, I'll round out and thank the audience.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
A pleasure. First and foremost, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to Quantum Eraser for making this presentation possible. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for tuning in, hopefully sharing the show. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this debate is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!